Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed, yes, to a Monday afternoon edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast. As we got to talk all things NFL with this fine gentleman, Luke Easterling with Athlon Sports. And yes, he always joins me from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. You want more information on Anidjar and Levine? Hey, just go to my website at markmosesshow.com. And it's another victory Monday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They go to 5-1, beat the Mac Jones-led 49ers yesterday. Luke, how you doing today, buddy?
It's a beautiful day, man. And not just because it's like 54 degrees and breezy and clear out here in the Pacific Northwest. I know all of my people back in Florida don't know what fall looks like in October, but there's a real one out here. It's nice. But no, Victory Monday is beautiful, man. It's 5-1, best record in the NFC, and to do it with all of these injuries that keep piling up, I mean, it's unbelievable. If you don't think that Baker Mayfield is the MVP of the NFL so far this season, I don't know what you're watching. If you don't think Todd Bowles is a Coach of the Year candidate at this point with all the injuries they've had to deal with and the teams that they're beating, I know some other teams have injuries too. You just got to play who you got. But I don't know, man. These last 2 weeks, these last two wins after losing to Philly are absolutely huge. We talked about it last week, I'm pretty sure, where any of these next 4 or 5 games they win is huge because the last 6 games look pretty winnable for this team. So beating an NFC contender on the road in Seattle last week in a hostile environment, winning against a banged up team, but a 4-1 team in San Francisco at home this weekend. They've got some tough ones. They've got Detroit. They've got Buffalo coming up. It's gonna be tough still for a few more weeks now. But man, if they can, every single one of these really quality opponents that they can beat, especially as banged up as they are, they get to the back end of the season. Mike Evans gets back. Emeka Egbuka gets back from whatever hamstring thing he's dealing with. Chris Godwin comes back. Luke Gadecki comes back. All the, Zion McCollum. They're going to get some reinforcements down the stretch here. And the fact that they're 5-1 despite all these injuries, that's got to be really scary for everybody else in the NFC.
Well, you talk about Baker Mayfield, and we've said this after week 1 when they were in Atlanta. We said this guy's an MVP candidate. So I know everyone else starting to get on the train. Hey, all aboard.
Yeah. Welcome to the party, baby.
Yeah. You think about who is he throwing to yesterday? You just said it. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, who's pretty much been injured most of the season anyway. And then Egbuka goes down hamstring. Dude.
And Jalen McMillan is already out. So he's down. He finishes the second, entire second half, he's down his top 4 wide receivers. So his starting receivers at that point are Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson, and Ryan Miller and Cameron Johnson at that point are the receivers that he's tossing touchdowns to. Rashad White, Cade Otton obviously had big games again, but they're also on their backup right tackle and 3rd or 4th string right guard as well. I just want to point that out as well. So it's not just the skill positions. The offensive line has been ravaged by injuries again. Kalijah Cansey is missing from the defensive line. Benjamin Morrison and Zion McCollum, their 2 and 3 corners, 2 of their 3 starting corners were out yesterday too. I mean, the team's missing a bunch of starters, and all they do is just keep winning. It has a lot to do with number 6.
And they scored 30 points yesterday, and it could have been more. That is why it's just wild to think. And we were joking before we came on. For anyone who didn't see it, I love post-game in the locker room. So they're talking to Ted Johnson, who had a big touchdown catch in this football game. He thought the chance of MVP were for him. What are your thoughts?
I love it. I told you, man, you've got to have a special kind of belief in yourself to be an NFL player at all, let alone a wide receiver. So it's funny to me to see that these people, these players, know they have to behave as if I'm the best at this on the planet. That's the mentality they take into every snap. They have to have that level of belief to accomplish the things that it takes to be successful. So I don't know. And I love that he brought it up and made fun of himself. He was like, that's where my mind went. So good on the kid for having a laugh, but also that was a hell of a catch. That was not an easy catch to make. And for a 7th round pick who was forgotten about by the rest of the league for almost the entire draft because he's too small. He's $165 soaking wet. That dude, if you go back to the film at Oregon, he was making plays like that. It wasn't about his ability. It was about the teams just thought he was too small. The Bucs obviously didn't think so. They joked with him that when they drafted him, Jason Light, the general manager, said, they were like, hey, what took you so long? And they were like, well, we didn't have a 6th-round pick. So they would have taken it a round earlier, and he still would look like a steal to me. He's going to be so valuable to this team. Again, Evans is going to be back at some point. Godwin's going to be back at some point. Hopefully McMillan's back at some point. But Tez Johnson is explosive, man. He's dynamic. He's going to have a role for this team even when they're fully healthy because of plays like that.
Well, it's funny on the play also. It looks like blown coverage. He puts his hand up, right? Hey, I'm open. And Baker got him the ball. Dude, it was at 250 or so, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, I don't know who the offensive line is. I don't know who I'm throwing to. If you're a space alien and you landed and you saw the game, you're like, oh, the Bucs look fine. You wouldn't even know unless you bring it up that they're rolling. Dude, he is an MVP front runner. And he reminds me, and I want your thoughts on this. He looks like Brett Favre. That's what he reminds. Maybe he's not as big as Favre. His gunslinger mentality and that where I love to play football, I will bang. And dude, how about the run right before the bomb?
That's
insane. Dude, you never saw this. When you signed him, you did not see this coming. There is no way.
I didn't see this coming, but I thought that they would be successful, and I thought he would be better than a lot of people gave him credit for, because I thought that he was that way in Cleveland when he was healthy and they actually had a decent supporting cast. He led the Browns to the playoffs. They went 11-5. That was the only season those two things were true. So last thing, by the way, on the Tez Johnson touchdown, Baker said after the game that Tez was supposed to take that route across the field. But after the snap, he saw the safety go to the middle, and he just ran straight up the seam on his own and put his hand up, and Baker just saw him and was like, great read, kid, and hit him with the pass. So that's not even where he was designed to go, but he read it on the fly. And for a rookie 7th-round pick to make that, understand coverages and make that change on the fly, for Baker to see it, that's the kind of reason. That's why I say he's going to continue to have a role in this offense, because you build trust with a veteran quarterback when he can trust you to see things like that. But Baker himself, man, that run is the entirety of the Baker Mayfield experience. Those 2 plays, right? He makes that play on 3rd and 14 where he's literally in the grasp of 2 different defenders in the pocket. He escapes. He pump fakes one guy. He just makes a defender completely miss in the open field, which I would say Brett's probably got a stronger arm than Baker does on his best days. And Baker doesn't get credit for how strong his arm is, but Brett probably had one of the best ones of all time. But Brett could never do what Baker does as a runner in the open field like that. I never saw Brett do that kind of stuff at that level. Man, that run was just an absolute gem to watch as a fan. And then again, to follow it up 2 plays later with the touchdown. That is the entire Baker Mayfield experience. The play is never over. The game is never over. You're never out of it. And again, he's the biggest reason this team is 5-1. He's the biggest reason why, despite all of the adversity and the injuries, this team is the best team in the NFC right now. We'll find out a lot about that next Monday night when they go to Detroit, obviously. But how can he not be the MVP frontrunner? I know there's a lot of ball game left, but up to this point, there is no player in the NFL who has done more with less than what he's done in Tampa, and it's been a joy to watch.
Very well said. Look, double-digit win, but at the same time, if you watch that 4th quarter, all right, couple things. Missed field goal to go up 2 scores.
Yeah,
can't have it. You know what's a key play? The botch snap where it was to give to Rachaad White, fumble, he at least falls on the ball. That could have been another play. Also give credit. I know I'm trying to do the Cliff Notes version of this. There's so many things that were happening.
It was a lot there.
Then, hey, Mac Jones, who threw for over 300 yards in this game, there was the play where Jamel Dean picks him off late. That was huge. That was. And the penalty after the fact. Dude, how big was that for Dean to pick that football off?
Yeah, and again, he had a pick 6 earlier in the season too. He is definitely he's betting on himself, and he's delivering in a big way, man. He's coming through, and those are veteran plays too. On that interception, if you watch, he baited that throw so well. He made Mac Jones throw that ball with the way he aligned, kind of making it look like he was sitting on that flat route, but he was cheating just enough to get him to think that second window was open, and he threw it right to him. He's 6'1" and got really long arms, so he knows he can get to balls that a lot of corners can't get to. And so if you're a quarterback, you can see that kind of like, oh, I can get it there. Not against that guy, not against Jamel Dean. He's too tall, he's too long, and he just made a hell of a play. And again, he's taken so much grief for getting his hands on the ball so many times over the last 6 years and just not being able to catch him. They make fun of him all the time. for finally catching it, finally getting his hands on the ball. But man, he's such a great guy. If you've ever been in that locker room, he's so fun. He's such a nice guy to be around. It's great to see him making big plays and being successful. And man, that was such a clutch play. Kudos to Kendall Vildor earlier in the game too. He had the early pick that kind of set the tone and set up the first touchdown. Needed to keep his feet, and it's a pick six, but another great read where he comes off of his guy because he's seen something and knows what's coming. Just very, very opportune plays. How about Levante David? I know they took away the strip sack from that one sack he had, but it forced a punt late in the game. 35 years old, and Levante David is still arguably the best off-ball linebacker in the game. I know losing Fred Warner was huge for a 49ers team that's already banged up a lot. But again, everybody had injuries on both sides of this game. The Bucs had opportunities to put it away sooner, and they didn't. So obviously, there's still a lot of room to improve. But it was finally nice for the Bucs to go 5-1, and for the first time, they got to do victory formation. They finally won a game, not at the last second. So it took longer than it should have, but they actually got to kneel this one out.
It was interesting so they hit the field goal to go up double digits, and it felt like San Francisco was just defeated. Like okay, I get it. Less than 2 minutes, but you're down. You'd think, let's hurry up. No. They felt defeated. The game was over. That was amazing. You're right. It was a crazy feeling because every week so far this year, it's gone down to the final play of the season. That was big. Yep. I want your thoughts then. What'd you think of Mac Jones in this? I mean, a guy, pretty much a journeyman quarterback. Was it Patriots, Jaguars, now Niners? Yep. What are your thoughts on him after throwing for 300 yards?
Yeah, what a gutsy performance, man. I mean, he was injured himself. He had a foot or an ankle injury or knee injury. It was a knee injury and an oblique strain. So, he didn't practice he didn't throw all week in practice. He couldn't throw. And they obviously, there are game day remedies for that sort of thing. So they got him ready to play, and he was able to play. But, man, 200 yards in the first half.
Yeah,
I think that was the biggest concern I had was why is Todd Bowles' defense giving up 200 yards in the first half to an injured Mac Jones? And not just an injured Mac Jones. An injured Mac Jones who didn't have Brandon Ayuk, didn't have Ricky Pearsall. I mean, he was down to an injured Juwan Jennings and Kendrick Bourne, who just came back to the team. You don't have George Kittle, so you got Jake Tonjes out there catching the ball at tight end. You had McCaffrey and not much else in terms of healthy targets. So kudos to Mac Jones for gutting it out, man. He gave them a shot. He gave them a chance to win. He definitely did his part. But there just wasn't enough there to beat a very, very talented. I mean, the Bucs got after him. They sacked him 6 times. They picked him off twice. Big performance from the Bucs, and again, first half wasn't great, but they made it happen when they needed it most down the stretch.
Would your overall concerns just be the injuries, or are there other things it's like, hey, they need to improve on this?
It is the injuries because the injuries impact the plays and the coverages that you can call. This happened a lot with Todd last year when they were banged up in the secondary, where it's like, why aren't you playing more man coverage when you blitz? Well, we don't have corners who can play man that well. We have corners that are going to get burned. So the reason they play that bend, don't break defense where you give up a ton of yards, but you lock down inside the 20 and you force field goals instead of touchdowns, which they did pretty well yesterday. That's why when you trade 7s for 3s, you win 30-19 instead of the other way around. Todd is probably doing the best he can when, again, 2 of your top 3 corners are down. You don't have your best interior pass rusher, although Vita Vea is playing his ass off this year. He is, as a pass rusher in particular, usually when you draft a guy who's 6'4", 350, he's a 2-down, run-stuffing nose tackle, and on 3rd down passing downs, he comes out of the game. Not only does Vita Vea not come out of the game on passing downs, when he's not getting after the quarterback and creating sacks, whether he's getting him himself or forcing him into somebody else, he drops into coverage in this defense at 340, 350 pounds. So he's just a unicorn, man. Vita Vea has been so great. So I think Todd's doing the best he can. He's trying to play bend, don't break when he knows he doesn't have the defensive secondary healthy to play the coverages he really wants to. It's the same thing on offense. When you have young guys that haven't taken a ton of first-team reps, it's hard for the offensive coordinator to call all the plays you want because the chemistry isn't the same. The guys aren't necessarily up on the playbook the same. So it's kudos to the guys that are in the game for doing the best they can, but it's a challenge for the coaches to call what they want to call when they don't have everybody healthy.
What about when Vea roughing the punter Okay. I'm
Yeah.
amazed the punter didn't break his leg on that. Like, dude,
I mean,
Vita Vea's coming at you at full speed. And oh man, that was
yeah, he knew it right away, but it's just
nuts.
if 340 gets going in one direction, it's going to take a minute for that train to slow down and stop. So he needs to know that next time just don't try for that at all, because you're not going to be able to put that back in reverse anytime soon.
Okay, I'll put you on the spot. From the Super Bowl team on defense, you still have Levante David, Vita Vea. Antoine Winfield was a rookie, I believe, on that team.
Yeah, Winfield was a rookie that year. Jamel Dean was on that team.
Is there anyone I know off the top of my head? Those are the names that stand out to me from that are
Anthony Nelson. Anthony Nelson was on that team. He's a backup outside linebacker.
It's interesting. You still have that core there, moving forward. And look, I love when they said on the broadcast, Levante David, what is 1,400 tackles in his career, dude? Another. Okay, we hype Baker MVP. We do this all the time. David is going to go to Canton one day. I'm sorry. His stats are too crazy after a while. And I don't think he's going to stop. I think he's having a great year for the Buccaneers. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, I felt like this would be it for him. I felt like this was 14th season. He's 35. I felt like this would probably be it. I don't know, man. He looks like he's 28 still. I know he probably doesn't feel that way after the game. But I tell you what, I've said this like the last 2 or 3 years in a row. Every Sunday I get to watch number 54 or number 13 when he's healthy. Every time I get to watch those guys, it's a gift, because they're so rare, especially for a Bucs franchise that, I mean, there was a lot of bad football played in Tampa for a long, long time, and without those types of players, and to have both Mike Evans since 2014, Levante since 2012, only wear that Bucs jersey, man. Those are special players. I can't wait to watch both of those guys go into the Hall of Fame, and just continue the long tradition of legendary football players to wear that jersey. Okay,
I said Brett Favre for Baker. London Fletcher. That's what where he's going to play for 20 years. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope so, man. Levante is just the interesting thing that I love about Levante too is that when he came out of Nebraska, he was like 220 pounds, and so teams were like, we might have to move him to safety. We don't know if he can stay at linebacker. And the Bucs ran a 4-3 at the time, and so they're like, we could play weak side backer for us because he's undersized, but he's just so quick. He's so athletic. He's so smart. So we'll put him in the weak side, which you can kind of hide a smaller guy at the weak side linebacker position, use his coverage, his blitzing skills. But then at some point, the Bucs switched to a 3-4. And so you don't put a 220-pound guy on the edge. You can't do that because you need him to be like a run stuffer and outside linebacker. So they moved him inside. And back then, inside linebackers were like, if you're not 240, you can't do this. You can't play this position. And he did it. And so he's still never been a lick over 230, I would bet. And he has survived every scheme change. He's been outside. He's been inside. If you go look at the numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but I can easily get them for you. No linebacker of his generation has put up the amount of tackles, but more importantly, the amount of splash plays. Go look at the combination of interceptions, sacks, and forced fumbles and fumble recoveries that he has created. Compare those numbers to two guys that no one would bat an eye at going to the Hall of Fame when they're ready. It's Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner, who were both taken in the same draft, by the way. Luke Kuechly was a top 10 pick in that draft. Bobby Wagner was a second rounder like Levante was. Go to Pro Football Reference and stack those three guys up next to each other and tell me what you see when you look at sacks, interceptions, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries between those two guys. And I want to see your face when you see how many more of those things Levante David has than the other two guys combined. And tell me that guy's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't want to hear it.
That's a best man speech right there. I like
that.
Hey,
Levante, I will be your wingman anytime, my man. Let me have it. I tell you what, I did this for years for Rondé Barber, and I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore because he finally got his gold jacket. I will do it for Levante David until he gets his. That's fine by me.
See, it's interesting. It's for all the Bucs fans. I still feel like the team that won that first Super Bowl will always be cherished the most.
Of course.
Those Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, all those. Mike Allstott is loved, and as he should be. These guys, they're just as good, but for some reason it just feels, now maybe that'll change in the next 15 years. But like these guys, Levante David, Mike Evans, they're going to be up there on this Mount Rushmore. They really are. Okay.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You know you're a good franchise when your Mount Rushmore isn't good enough. Like you gotta have 6 heads or 7. I think the Bucs have to have at least 7 because you gotta have Leroy, you gotta have the 4 Hall of Famers from that defense, and then you have to have Levante and Mike. That you've got to have at least 7 heads on your Mount Rushmore if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And you said it earlier. Look, the first 20, 25 years of the franchise is all losing. All of it. There's no winning involved.
There was a quick blip. Remember, they were bad in 76 and 77, but they won the division in 79. They quickly, they had Doug Williams. They had a really good defense. They went to the NFC title game in 1979, and they lost to the Rams 9-0, who ended up losing to the Steelers in the Super Bowl that year. But from 79 to like 97, it was mostly bad. It was really, really bad. A lot of very few playoffs, if any, very few Pro Bowlers. It was a dark, dark time to be a Bucs fan. I mean, I think I was 11 years old before I saw them play in the playoffs. It was a rough go there for a little while, but it's been, again, this stretch for Bucs fans. This is why, like, if Bucs fans are like bored of Todd Bowles and they're like, oh, Todd Bowles isn't good enough, he's never going to get us. Like, you guys have no idea how bad it can be. How much worse it can be than winning the division every year. And I don't want to hear NFC South is weak. I don't care. If you're hanging banners every year, I will take that over what I grew up with. It's fine.
The only thing I'll say is I've really enjoyed watching this season compared to that final year with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is the GOAT. That team was not good. They did not deserve to even be in the playoffs. And they snuck in and they got hammered. Who beat them? Was it Dallas?
It was Dallas.
Yeah, it was. Like, this team is more likable, even though it's kind of the same roster in theory. But like, that last year was not fun. It was painful every single week.
There were a couple of things that made that season suck, and it was Ryan Jensen getting hurt at the first day of training camp, and that hurt so bad, and everybody was so upset about that. And obviously, Tom had his personal stuff that was going on all season, and I do think that was felt in the locker room. Like, everybody could just feel it was a hard year for a lot of people, and so I think they just never could shake that. There were injuries and there was personal stuff going on. It was hard. What's funny, though, is when they signed Baker Mayfield, I wrote for Athlon Sports, that the Bucs were going to be better with Baker Mayfield than they were with Tom Brady that last year. And everybody laughed and said there was no way. And again, it was as much about the fact that last Tom Brady team was just felt like they were fighting themselves every single week. And it was such a dark, hard season, even with the playoff berth, that I thought Baker bringing a different vibe would bring something to this team. I didn't think it'd be this good. But I'm definitely soaking it up and enjoying it because he's the best version we've ever seen from him.
All right, let's end with this. I have draft questions, but forget it. All right, we can do that next week. So, all right, Detroit, that was a bad loss for them last night at Kansas.
Yeah, and I hate that for the Bucs because now they're going to be pissed and now they're going to know where their weaknesses are and they're not going to be overconfident.
I can't believe that game is Monday Night Football. When's the last time an NFC matchup mattered? Because usually we know this every week for the last couple of years, it's Baltimore versus Kansas City, Buffalo versus Baltimore. Now, an NFC matchup, Detroit is dangerous at home. I still think they might be the best team in the NFC. What do you think of this game coming up next week?
Yeah, it's rare. I think we had a couple late last season where it was like Minnesota, Detroit for that 1 seed, and then there was like a late Philly, Washington, but then Hurts got hurt.
Washington won that game.
And so, no, this game is huge, man. It's again, Bucs went to Detroit and won last year, by the way, one of the 2 teams to beat Detroit in a game that Aiden Hutchinson had 5 sacks.
Yeah,
they still won that game. It was week 2. Yeah.
Week 2. And
so, I mean, listen, they know they can go into this building and win. Detroit's got injuries of their own to deal with. I think the biggest thing for the Bucs is they have done a pretty good job of not beating themselves. They've had some penalties here and there that have hit them, but the biggest thing, and I will knock on wood all day long, they got to keep protecting the football and they got to keep making splash plays on defense. If they can get sacks on third down, if they can take the football away and they can continue to take care of the football on offense, they've got the talent and the coaching. They've got everything they need to go into that building and win. They know they can do it. They got to do the fundamental things. They've got to do things. And if they can get any kind of healthy, if they get McCollum or Morrison back this week, which looks like they'll be able to practice this week, looks like Evans might be able to return to practice. I don't think Bucky Irving will play Monday night. I don't think Chris Godwin will play Monday night. I don't think Emeka Ibuka will play Monday night. So
Are you playing?
Offense.
What are you? Who is playing?
I am happily retired at this point. I am so glad to not be playing anymore. I would answer the call, obviously, but I'm happy they won't call me. No, it's going to be a tough matchup for the offense. But again, that puts the onus on the defense. You got to get off the field on third down. You got to take the ball away a couple of times. You've got to keep it close because you got to give Baker a chance at the end. That's what you have to do. You have to keep it close. You got to give him a shot to where he can win it for you at the end, like he's proven he can do so many times already in the last couple of years. So hopefully it's an instant classic and fans get what they came for. I wouldn't mind a Bucs blowout, but I don't expect that to happen. But it's just, you just got to give Baker a chance at the end. Take care of the football, avoid the self-inflicted errors, and give number 6 a chance in the final minutes. And I think the Bucs will be all right with that.
It's interesting. About a month ago, we talked about this 4-game stretch where against all playoff teams. So they lose to Philly in the close game. They beat Seattle. They beat San Francisco. Here's the 4th one at Detroit. I said I'd take 2-2 during this stretch. Hey, go steal that game in Detroit. All right, what can we check out with Athlon Sports? All your coverage for the NFL for the rest of the week, buddy.
Yeah, so I do a weekly mock draft already. It's always draft season for me, you know that. So I'll have a new one out on Tuesday morning. Every Tuesday morning, I've got a new mock draft out for 2026. So the Bucs keep falling farther and farther in the first round every week, which is fine by me. They're still going to get a really nice linebacker to hopefully not replace Levine, but upgrade that spot next to him for the next couple of years. But yeah, check that out. I always have stuff over the weekends while the games are happening. I do college stuff on Saturday, NFL stuff on Sunday. I wrote about Rico Dowdle last night, the Carolina Panthers, the 2-week stretch he's had for them as they're running back with Chuba Hubbard out. Talking about the quarterback class for this draft is wild, man. It's all over the place. We got Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, looks like the best guy in the class right now. But there's a ton of intriguing quarterbacks in this class. A lot of fun names. So yeah, all kinds of stuff. Athlonsports.com. We got you covered. College, pro, all of it.
The Jets should trade down and get as many picks as they can. Okay. Don't just say, oh, we'll take a quarterback. Oh, no. This has to be a project. The other one, I'm sorry I have to say this Texas A&M pass rusher, I can't think of his name.
Cassius Howell, baby.
Oh my, he destroyed that Gators offensive line. That is the tape where you'll be a top 5 pick. Right there. Destroy. Too bad Billy Napier's too dumb to understand you need to make corrections. Okay.
I don't know if you saw it, but earlier in the year, I think they were playing Utah State, so it wasn't exactly the Gators. Cassius Howell had sacks on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down to completely erase a drive all by himself. Like he had sacks on every play.
There were times he just ran by the guy. He just didn't even touch him and went right to the court. Unbelievable. Luke, thank you so much for your help, and I'll talk to you later. All right, man?
Hey, always a good time, Mark. Take care, buddy.